All right. To get started, what you need to do is you need to download the exercise file. You will find a link in the description box. The next thing we need to do is we need to go through and just get our computers all looking the same. So yours looks like mine. And we're gonna reset the workspace and make sure we got the right units and increments and that part of stuff to not started. That sort of stuff to get started. So, let's jump into the computer now and sort that out. First up, let's open up a file so that we can get our workspace similar. So, your version of Illustrator looks the same as mine. Because the trouble sometimes with this, the first start screen here is it can be different for everybody. So, let's go to File and let's go to Open. Now what you want to do is you want to find the exercise files you've downloaded. Here they are here. Exercise Files Illustrator. And in here I want you to find the file called Getting Started. And then click the Open button. Alright. So, the first thing we need to do is we need to reset our workspace. Just so that we're all looking the same. And we can do it along the top here. There's this little app bar. Okay. And yours might say something different in here. You want to see if there's a tick next to it. So, click on it. And the second thing you want to do is come down to that exact same menu and go to Reset Essentials. And that will just put it back to kind of a default setting. Now if yours still looks different, it might be that you're using an earlier version of Illustrator. But drop this down. And what you want to do is you want to click on Essentials. And what that's going to mean for you is that you can continue along with this course. Say, 90% of the course going to be still fine for you. What you are going to have a little bit of trouble with is finding out where some of these menus are. Because they have moved around just a tiny bit. Moved around just a tiny bit. What I mean by that, if I grab my type tool and I click and I start typing, you can see over here it automatically says, here's my character panel. And there are my font and font sizes. This properties panel did not exist in earlier versions of Illustrator. Super handy. I love it. But in earlier versions what you're gonna have to do is when looking at this character panel or things in this appearance, what you're gonna have to do is go up to Window and open them separately. This is how older versions worked. If I go down to Type, there's Character. Okay. So, it's the same panel. Can you see? He matches him. But he's just in a separate little window. So that's going to be a fun game. If you're using, say, CS6 or CS5. But don't worry. You can continue on with most of this course. So just make sure you have it set to Essentials and that you've reset them. Next thing. Let's look at the units and increments. Let's change the units you're using. What you need to do is have nothing selected. The best way to have nothing selected is grab your black arrow, the selection tool here, and just click off in this gray area here, just so that nothing is selected. Watch when I select on something. This properties panel changes. Overall settings for the document. In this case. But when I click on the background here, into Kinder No Man's Land, it gives me kind of general. It's currently set to centimeters. Okay, I'm gonna change mine and work in inches in this course. But let's say we're working, say, with some web or old design work in Illustrator. You can click on pixels. It doesn't really matter. But this is the place to change it. It's in a slightly different place than say, a lot of the other Adobe products like Photoshop, where it's kind of done in the preferences. So that's just something to note here. We're gonna pick inches. One last thing we do before we move on to start making things is just some basic navigation. We'll cover a lot more during the course. But zooming in and out and moving around is quite important. So, there is a long way. You can use this. This little magnifying glass horror. See this little magnifying glass here? The zoom tool. Click on that. And you click once. Click twice. Okay. and it just keeps zooming in. To zoom out, you can hold down the Option key on a Mac, or the Alt key on a PC. So, look down at your keyboard. If you're using a Mac, it's the Option key. If you're a PC, it's the Alt key, and you can see the little icon changes from a plus to a minus. And then I just click again with my left mouse button. OK, and it just zooms out. So that's the long way. What you'll find is I'm not gonna cover too many shortcuts really early on, but the one everyone uses to zoom in and out is, on a Mac, hold down your CMD key and tap plus. If you're on a PC, hold down the Ctrl key and tap plus. OK, so plus is just up in your numbers, kind of along the top of your keyboard. There's a plus and a minus, so minus zooms out, plus zooms in. One last little bit of navigation is to move around. Say I want to see kind of down a bit further. See these little sliders on the side here? OK, it'll look a little different on a Mac, but there'll be a little kind of a slider. But there'll be a little kind of a slider bar that you can go up and down. Same with down at the bottom here. You can go left and right. OK, that is the long painful way. That is fine when you're new. You can do that way. But let's do one last little shortcut. Is if you hold down the space bar. Can you see at the moment I'm on my selection tool? OK, but if I hold the space bar down, look at the icon that changes. It becomes a little hand. OK, so space bar down becomes a little hand. And that just means click, hold, and drag. OK, so space bar down, clicking the mouse, and just dragging it around. Alright, that's it for the boring navigation stuff in Illustrator. I'll remind you of those shortcuts throughout the course, so don't worry. But now, boring stuff over. Let's get into the super exciting world of creating things in Illustrator using shapes and lines. Alright, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Stay tuned.